Hey everybody, it's Rob Wilds. Thanks for listening to the Smells Like Hope podcast. If you believe in the cause of recovery, then please hit the like, hit the subscribe buttons. Become a recovery warrior. Join me in the battle against drug and alcohol addiction. Welcome to another edition of the Smells Like Hope podcast, the podcast dedicated to shining the light of truth on the disease of addiction. I am your host, Rob Wilds. I'm a 20-year professional wrestling veteran, and I'm also an addict. Joined by special guests, we are going to share with you our stories of recovery, of inspiration and hope. Because, my friends, no matter how dark the road you're on, there is always hope. All right, and we're back for yet another Smells Like Hope. Thanks for joining me today. And some of you might notice that it's been, 3 weeks since I did one, but, I'm of the, I do Wrestle Shoot, that's my other podcast, and yeah, we do that weekly, we do that religiously, but I don't come on and do a Smells Like Hope just because I'm trying to boost ratings. Like on Wrestle Shoot, we're trying to help people, so I wait till there's something relevant. Like today. Today we are bringing on somebody who has never done a podcast before, and I know she's nervous no matter what she says. What's up, Jessica?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I can't.
Try not to be nervous.
I can't complain, but who would listen?
Right?
So
we would.
Yeah, we would. That's right, because that's what we do. So, we don't have a whole lot of rules on here. We obviously don't advocate the use of drugs, and we don't talk about politics. But besides that...
Don't pull any punches.
I love that sound effect. Oh. You should hear the wrestle. You should hear the Wrestle Shoots, man. I go sound effect stupid on that. On this one, I try to be a little bit more dignified and refined.
That is a good dignified and defined voice.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I do lots of voices. I just save most of them for Wrestle Shoot because most of my impersonations are of wrestlers. Except for I do a pretty decent Trump, though. I'll tell you that much. So.
Well, that's considered politics, so we're going to say no.
Don't tell me what I can and can't say on my own show.
Then I am just kidding.
There you go. So here we are. You are new to sobriety, and it's your second time around.
Yes, I am.
And I like that.
I have 33 days as of today.
That's right. Good job. And the next 40 is going to come before you know it.
Well, hopefully it's better than the birthdays, right? You're still here.
Damn right about that. But, when I was finally ready to be done, I just threw my dick on the table, so to speak. I was just like, it's time to sink or swim. I went to rehab. I went to outpatient. I did 90 and 90. I was just all in. And my cocaine habit was so severe. That was the only way I was going to get clean, was just going 100% in.
And that's really hard because I don't think I've ever really committed myself to be 100% in on anything that I do, even though it was always a good thought in my head, and I know I could wear it on my face, but in my heart, being 100% is probably the hardest thing that I still have yet to learn.
Well, being 100% is it's I'm going to go back to wrestling. I used to listen to these cats, doing their TV promos and saying, oh, I go to the ring and I give 100%. Hey, shut the hell up. No, you do not. You can't. If you gave 100%, you wouldn't be able to walk back to the locker room. So just shut up. Yeah. And then you've got a lot of these wrestlers who, they'll give it 100% when it comes to getting high. They're all in on that, but that's about the only thing they're all in on. And nobody come to my house. Nobody come to my house looking to fight. I'm not saying all wrestlers. I'm just saying I've known a few, and I was one of them. So the first time around, you were how long clean?
Almost 7 years.
Whew, that's a long
Yeah.
ride.
Mhm.
What was that kicker that knocked you off?
Um, let's just say, I got in a relationship. Everything seemed great at first. This was 3 years ago. This ended in July, and I guess the kicker for me was, playing with things that weren't technically considered drugs, legal to buy, and they still got you high.
Like what
So
things? What things?
these are like kratom.
Yep. Okay.
That was probably the initiator of this scenario this time. I was like, oh, I've done this before. I haven't done this in a while, but you'll really like it. So let's go get some and, let's use together. And, we don't feel guilty about it. So that started that downfall probably April 2019. And he started drinking after that. And I was never a big drinker, so I did not drink with him. So for me, I thought I was better. He got pretty nasty when he was drinking. He got very violent when he was drinking. So in September of 2019 was the first time I guess I've ever really been hit by a man in my life who definitely did that 100%. And ever since that day, we tried to even, keep it together. But I think I kept it together more for the fact of survival because I didn't know what else to do. Besides living with him, I didn't have enough money saved. I didn't have this, I didn't that. So I have to make it work and pretty much fake it to make it through this relationship until I could figure it out. And the drinking didn't stop. The anger didn't stop. And then finally I said, screw it, and gave in and went back out there and said, I'm just going to use for the weekend. And then a month
That's
went
how
by
it
and
starts.
did the same thing. I'm going to use for the weekend, and I did it. Maybe, I did most of the stuff to hurt myself, but, kind of like a spite thing. Like, you're not going to know about it, but I'm doing it. And even if you do know about it, I don't care because look what you're doing.
I said I was going to
So
do it
that
for
was,
the
I guess,
weekend. I just didn't say which weekend.
exactly. And the weekends became more frequent.
Right.
And then I found out that he was cheating on me. And July 3rd, I left the house at 2:00 in the morning, and I wound up in a different town around some people that I knew, and just went balls to the wall with it, hardcore, and never made it back to that house.
And your
That was
drug of
living up with
choice
him.
was?
This time around, it was actually meth.
All right.
The first time around, it was when, it was opiates and heroin, so, and methadone. So it was a total different playground for me this
Oh,
time
sure.
around.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
apples and bricks.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and
Yes, it is.
I think I just
But those were the people that I knew, so that's the first people that I knew I could go there and I could get messed up.
I say all the time, I just thank Christ that I never had any kind of a inkling desire to ever try heroin because, man, I've seen the hellscape it is for people to get off of that, and I don't think I would have made it out.
Yeah, and I did the same thing with that. I mean, I could say that for sure because I used to say the same thing about meth. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to, even look at it. Look at these pictures of people on TV. I'm not going to do that. That was me. And so from an opposite scenario, I think everybody has that drug that they do that with, where they say, I'm never going to do that because it's way worse than what I'm doing. But then somehow we wind up here.
It's funny. One of my buddies told me, he goes, the scenario for heroin users is typically it's the doctor's fault because they throw so many painkillers at you. Then all of a sudden say, oh, you can't have them anymore. Then people say, well, I'll get them on the
Right.
streets then for $20-$30 a pill. And then they go broke. And then somebody goes, heroin's only $10 a bag. So you can just sniff it. And they go, oh, okay, I'll try that. Then they do it and they love it. And they go, okay, you know what? This is going to be okay because I will sniff it, but I'll never shoot it. And then one day somebody convinces them that, you know what? I'll just muscle shoot it this time and see what happens, but I'll never hit a vein. And then the next step is hitting the vein, and a lot of times the next step is being on the wrong side of the grass.
Right. And, that kind of sounds like, my first time around too. I was like, oh, I never went to the doctor. I never had anything wrong with me, be able to go to the doctor. But I was definitely around all the right people at the right time, and
All the
was
what
very
people?
naive about it. All the right people at the wrong time, I say.
Jesus.
Yeah. People that, were my friends that, I trusted, and, like, I didn't even honestly know what I was doing back then. I didn't really know what addiction was. I didn't know, like, taking a pill every day, I'm going to get sick. No, I had no clue.
Right.
But it definitely became a habit. And then one day I was sitting there and I was sick. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel horrible. Call up, one of my guy friends, and came over, and he's like, this is all I got, and it's already preloaded. And I said, oh my God, well, let me just close my eyes, and I guess you're going to do it. And then there became my heroin downfall for 5 months.
Well, that's what I always say. People who go, oh, I don't have the courage to shoot up. Don't worry. Somebody will do it for you.
Exactly. And that's how it happened to me the first time. And
Misery
after
loves
that,
company.
that was my mission. Yeah.
All right. So you're now
Go ahead.
so you're now you've gotten away from the guy. You've gotten to some other people in a different town, and you are just going batshit to it. And then you got back to Florida magically, or how'd that work out?
No, I'm talking about a different place, like 20 minutes north of me, just a different town.
Okay.
So, yeah, not that far. So I wound up there and, just going ham for like a good week. And all of a sudden, I wind up really sick one morning. I wound up shaking really bad. I wind up like feeling like you have the flu times 100, and every bone and every muscle in my body hurt. And all I could do was sit there and hold myself. And in the next 24 hours, I couldn't move. You couldn't touch me. I was in so much pain. I couldn't even stand up. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. I couldn't take a shower. So literally I'm sitting in this house. Everybody's screwed up around me. I'm screwed up. I can't even use even if I wanted to, because I'm so sick. And my whole left foot is completely swollen. It's red. It's hot going up my leg. I can't move my hand. My shoulder's having the same effect. And I'm literally going to the bathroom myself. Like, I can't move. Like, you say 1, 2, 3, get up or you're going to die. Well, I guess I'm going to die. That's how bad that was. When I sat like that for 4 days and went to a hospital, finally they called the paramedics. And I go there and I'm sitting there in this crazy, like, state. I don't even know what I'm thinking, because when you do that stuff, you know what happens. You're paranoid, or conversations going on, you're probably not even going on in the hospital. And they're doing x-rays, they're doing blood tests, they're doing all this stuff to just say, oh, you're fine. It's all in your head. You can go home. And if you don't leave the hospital, we're going to call the cops and they'll remove you. And I'm thinking,
get out of here. Really?
Like,
Jesus.
I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking.
Well, that's a hospital people should avoid.
Yeah, it's great. So I wound up having to get picked back up. Still can't walk, still can't move. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to go back to the room and hopefully, this goes away. Like, I'm praying that this goes away, and it doesn't. It just gets worse, and it gets so bad. For another probably 72 hours, I wound up doing what I didn't think I'd be able to do, and calling a friend that I worked with that used to be my boss in home health care, because that's what I was doing before all this happened, saying, look, this is bad. Like, I'm going to die. I need you to take me to a different hospital. I need you to take me somewhere where they're going to figure this out. Something's just not right. And I wound up in emergency surgery within 12 hours on my foot and then on my hand, and wound up in the hospital for 15 days with major blood infection from shooting up.
Hey, that's rough.
Yeah. And if you think that stopped me, it didn't. I got back out of the hospital, wound up in a different house with somebody that I had met online that was still doing drugs, and then there comes a different habit, and I was around smoking crack for 30 days.
It's funny, being as a hardcore cokehead as I was, honestly, I've never even seen crack in person. Like, I've seen it on TV and the internet, but I've had no experience with it.
And that was my first experience with it. Besides doing it one time at like 25 and puking my guts out for an hour. I never wanted to touch it again. I was like, that is not my thing. We're not going there. But, you know, feeling that bad about yourself and everything else, I could have cared less at this point in my life. It was like, I'll be around anything, I'm going to do it. And, you know, the person that I was around, that's what I did. I had all this unemployment money that I had gotten and got my card for, you know, everything. I had a place to stay. I had a guy to be with, you know, here we go again. And wound up in the hospital again for another 15 days with an infection. And I had gotten out of the hospital the end of August and said, you know what, I just can't do this. But yet I still did. And I called up another friend, and now here I am back around meth again in the house that had just been raided 4 days before I had gotten there. And
now it's a party. Jesus.
Now it's a party. Yeah. You know?
The cops were invited.
And it's crazy. Yeah, the house is wrecked, you know, chaos everywhere, you know, like I'm in a dangerous situation. This is not cool. I do not want to be here. And in my heart, I knew I didn't want to be there, but every place that I kept going to, something kept happening. And then, you know, I'd be like, okay, now I have to go here. I had no stability. I was just like, oh, I call this friend and be in her car. We're going to go to this house. Then they would leave me there for 2 days and not come back for me. So it's like, oh, this is getting crazy. Like I never, you know, had my life get crazy to the point where I'm just being left at these houses and, you know, picked up in a couple of days. I have no phone. I have no this. I have no that. And it finally got to the point where I was walking down the road and there's that aha moment of sitting at the bus stop and the sun's going down. There's no buses running because it's a Sunday. And even if there was a bus running, I wasn't getting on it. And what do I do? Because I'm not sleeping outside. I can't do this. So I started walking back up this road, and I knocked on some random door that I knew a car had just pulled up 2 hours earlier because it's in my vision. And I'm like, I know they're home, so I'm going to knock on the door. So I knocked on their door, and this lady opens up her window, and she's like, who are you? What are you doing? And I said, I need help. She asked me what was going on, and I just looked at her, and I said, life. And she goes, I understand that. And I said, can you just please call the sheriff's department and have them meet me out here so maybe they can take me somewhere and I can get some help. And that is exactly what happened. And that's the day that my life is changing now for like, that was, you know, 33 days ago.
Wow. So the police show up. They find you standing in front of this woman's house, and who knows what kind of a report she had already given them.
With my hair and being nervous. Exactly.
And they did what for you?
It was not pretty.
Obviously, they didn't take you to jail.
No, They were standing back. They were asking me a bunch of questions. You know, they're asking me, you know, where I just came from, if I was wanting to hurt myself, you know, if I wanted to hurt anybody else, you know, all like, no, I just, you know, I'm in a bad situation. You know, I've been using drugs really heavily. I need to get some help. Can you take me, you know, to a detox center? Take me to, you know, Salvation Army that has programs. I just need to go somewhere. I don't want to be on the streets. And they did. They took me to the Salvation Army, and they put me in what's called like a hotbed program, which is for you know, like homeless outreach down here. And then left on the mat on the floor. You know, didn't care. I was safe. And the next day, I talked to a counselor about trying to get into a program there at the Salvation Army, but a different avenue opened up. And there's a program here in Sarasota that I knew about, and they welcomed me. They gave me a grant, you know. And
what program? What program was that?
This is the Purpose House. It is a really great program here. And it's really structured. And
I'm sorry, it's called
around
what?
A whole bunch of women. The Purpose House.
Oh, Purpose House. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's probably one of the best programs that's around here. And I'm really appreciative of, you know, being shown and given a grant to be able to come here and start my recovery.
So then you got a grant from, I'm assuming, the county, or is it from the state?
I actually went to a church with a lady that was also homeless the next day. And it was a place called Resurrection Cafe. And I asked the lady to use her computer in the office. And she started talking to me, and she goes, you know, you just don't look like you belong on the street. Like, what is going on with, and I broke down and I had told her what was going on. And she goes, I do the parenting classes. I know this, I know Kelly at the Purpose House, and I guarantee you that, she can get you in, and I can get you a grant for the first 2 weeks, and, you can start living your life and not have to do this anymore. And right there, I got a phone call within 2 hours, and I was like, oh, thank you. Like, I was meant to be there. I was meant for that woman to be there, and everything was just falling into place. I felt at peace for like the first time I have felt at peace for that moment, thinking, okay, this is going to work. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm very thankful for that moment.
So then let's travel back in time real quick, back to Mr. Wonderful, who was drinking and beating the hell out of you.
Mm-hmm.
When you left, did he just let you be gone, or was he trying to track you down?
He let me be gone. He actually took, when I was in the hospital, he had moved all my stuff out, everything, and by the time I got out of the hospital, his new girlfriend was moved in. And,
his new victim.
Brought all, his new victim, let's say that.
Yeah.
And, his mom was like, don't come to the house, which is fine. I didn't want to come to the house anyway. They brought all my stuff here to the Purpose House for me. So that was, and I wasn't even here when that happened. So literally I haven't even seen him since that night I left. Like, I haven't talked to him. I've had no contact, nothing. It was just like gone out of my life, done.
So you didn't you didn't actually go to a rehab center then?
No. It's transitional housing, but it's the most structured program that's considered transitional housing here.
That's pretty impressive.
You still have to do 90 and 90. Mm-hmm. I never went to detox either. It was more of a mental detox for me than anything. It took me almost a good week and a half to finally think that nobody was going to kill me, or nobody thinks that I'm an undercover cop and they're acting weird around me and I don't hear my name everywhere. It was bad. I'm like, this is not fun. This is not fun at all.
Just randomly jump up. I'm not a fucking cop.
Yes. It's terrible. It's crazy. I felt so crazy. But I knew I wasn't crazy, which made it even crazier.
Well, there was a guy
that was the worst of it.
There was a guy in my rehab center, and we're all sitting outside. We kind of had, it was kind of broke up into cliques. The heroin guys were over there, and the coke kids were over there, and the drunks were over here. But then you had the old farts like me, and we were all kind of in our own little circle, because I think we took it the most seriously. But this dude walks over and asks somebody at our table for a cigarette, and then he just screams out, "I'm not a fucking cop!" And I went,
I felt like that was me.
I said, "It's okay if you are a fucking cop. What the hell's the matter with you, dude? Sit down, smoke your cigarette, be a cop, don't be a cop. Who gives a shit? You're here. That's what counts. You're not standing. You're not standing. Yeah, you're not standing in a crack house. I'm not a fucking cop." Some people,
right? I mean, I have never been literally like, that was an experience of a lifetime. Sometimes I can sit there and laugh about it. The other times I'm just like, wow, wow. Like, why did I go through this experience this time and have to go through all that to understand? Probably because, like most things in my life, I said that's never going to happen to me. And God's like, oh, just kidding. Here you go. How about it? It actually is going to happen to you, but it's okay.
So I think a lot of people can benefit from this one. When you broke your 7-year streak, how did you deal with yourself over that?
I felt like it would be okay. Like, I got this. It's okay. I can do this. One time and then not look at it because it's not really my thing anyway. Like, that's how I justified it. Right. Oh, that wasn't my original drug of choice, so I can play with it a little bit. It really doesn't do much for me, and I don't really think it's addicting, so whatever. Like, that was my mindset. And I really didn't look down on myself for it. I didn't.
Well, that's good.
So, I didn't. I don't know how to cope or deal with that. I don't feel guilty about it per se. I feel guilty that I broke those 7 years, but I didn't do those 7 years the way I want to do it this time. I never did the steps. I never really went to meetings. I was like, I don't need that stuff. I don't want to be around those kind of people. Like my ego, thinks, and my pride got in the way of all of it because I always thought I was, I had this. I had, I can do this. Or I was really good at faking it, one of the two.
Yeah, we're all good at faking it, dear.
Oh my!
And the reason I asked you that was because, like a month and a half ago, I was reading through those Facebook groups, and I was noticing a trend of all these people going on there and saying, they relapsed, they fell off, they hate themselves, they're scum. And it just moved me to record a quick little 20-minute podcast just saying, addiction is a disease of relapse. So for everybody doing it, it's not really so much an if, it's more of a when. And, I'm not saying that I'm giving myself permission to ever go back to it because I keep in the forefront of my mind how much I hate Coke. What a nightmare road that was. Mm-hmm. But even if I did fall off, it's not whether or not you fall off. It's what do you do once you fell off. And I keep all people, I get emails sometimes, people going, all right, man, find your new quote. Because my quote all the time is from Batman. And I say, why do we fall down? So we can learn to get back up. Just like a baby learning to walk for the first time. You fall down so you can get back up.
It's funny that you say that because my sponsor says, you're just a baby right now. You need help holding your head up. You can't change your diaper yet. You can't make your own baba, but it's going to be okay. Because you have people around you that are going to help you, but you're just a baby. And I said, okay. That was the best analogy, I think, that came out for me because I was just like, wow, I never really looked at that. Like, I'm a smart girl. Like, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, but I'm really not that smart because I don't know how to live without all these things,
right,
that I've learned throughout my life that are making my life hard.
Well, I'm not actually allowed to say my sponsor's name because he's a pretty famous professional wrestler who's actually a guy who helped get me involved in the Coke scene. So he helped get me off. But he said, look, man, you got to be focused. You can't be like, an 18-year-old male who's trying to focus on something that goes, ooh, something shiny over here. Ooh, what's that? Wander off in that direction, man.
Yeah.
You got to keep staring at the chalkboard, buddy. Ooh, something shiny.
Oh, even for a woman, that's my downfall. I'm just like, ooh, I feel pretty. Or, ooh, that one's really hot. And I'm like, Jessica. And it's like, oh no. And that's like that. That is the worst part about it. And that's probably my worst struggle.
Everybody's addiction carries over into other things when they get right. Like, I swear to God, I'm a freaking Pepsi junkie now, man. I might have to go to rehab for that. I tried to switch to lemonade, and I love lemonade, but God damn it, I need that Pepsi fix.
It's just not coffee, and it's just not Pepsi. I can understand that. I got chocolate milk sitting right in front of me right now, and that seems to be what I want right at this moment, making me feel better.
Yeah. Little rewards, and you really do have to reward yourself for every step you're making along the way. And for you to get off a real bender on meth without any medical assistance or rehab or anything like that, that's impressive. I think that when I was in rehab, you meet a psychiatrist your second day in there, because he wants to get a feel for where you're at mentally. And, I had all these legal charges coming at me from selling Coke to keep on top of my habit. And I said, this is my fault. I did all of this to myself. I'm not in here trying to find a doctor to write me a note for the judge to maybe get me some leeway. This is my problem. This is all my fault. And he was like, holy shit, I can't believe you're saying all this. He said, alcoholics typically accept responsibility. This is what he said. I don't know if it's true or not. He said, but heroin addicts and cokeheads never take responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault. But, that's just moving backwards.
Yeah, that's what you have to learn. Like, is it really somebody else's fault, or, is it your fault? And I haven't gotten there yet, but
of course,
I'm kind of excited to see the outcome.
I haven't heard you blame anybody else.
No, that's impressive. So I appreciate you saying that. Because that's a good
you're welcome.
point.
But it's true. I mean, you said what your reasons were, but reasons aren't excuses. They're reasons. And I use that one all the
You
time
learn
too.
something all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta grab it.
Good.
You gotta grab life.
Smiling.
You gotta grab life by the haunches and just hump into submission when you're in recovery, because it's no one's gonna make
It's
it
like
easy on you.
No, and these girls are at my house are so strong, and they definitely don't let me get away with any bullshit. That's for sure. And even when I don't even think I have my own bullshit, I got bullshit, and they definitely call me out on it and make me accountable for it. And I'm now beginning to see like these little things, that I get involved in or that I do that is what's making my life hard, even though I don't realize it.
Well, sure. I mean, you still got blinders on. You're looking straight ahead onto where you can get into recovery again. You're not noticing what's going on your eyes aren't seeing what's going on the side, but your brain knows.
Yeah, my brain works. Thank goodness.
And that's why it's good to have people.
I have like all the support.
Yeah, and that's why it's good to have people around you, and you got to pay attention to what they're saying, because someday soon, you're going to need to be saying that to other people.
And that's a big step for me. That's definitely something that I'm striving for, and that makes me, want to wake up the next day and keep going.
And look at what you're doing right now. You're coming on a podcast where you have no idea who is actually going to be listening to you, and you're putting it all on the table because, to quote the program, the only way you get to keep it is by giving it away.
And it feels good because normally I don't. I definitely put up this, facade and a pretty smile and a pretty face, and I'm happy and I'm bubbly, and it's like, God, I'm never going to tell you these things, like I'm never going to speak of that. And
I thought you were going to say no when I hit you up to do this. I thought you were going to be like, no, hell no, I'm not doing that. You crazy? Because lots of people do. I've asked several people, and they're just like, no fucking way, man. They're not ready to give it away.
I know, I'm like, sure.
Right. Hell yeah, I'll do it.
Try something different, right?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
I'm like, why not?
Your misery is refundable.
At this point, I feel like I just don't want to let to hide anything exactly. Like, so time to get it all out.
And you're also in a good position where I've seen some of your threads that you put on Facebook, and you and your dad have a real solid relationship, and that's very, very important.
It is. I love him so much, and that's another thing that's very special to me because, we lost touch of each other for like 6 or 7 years, and I mean really lost touch. Like did not talk, nothing, and it took me a year to figure out how to find him, and all my avenues were gone. Finally, I got a response from what I thought was still his wife's, like sisters, and I remembered names, and I'm like, well, how can I get a hold of my dad? I haven't heard from him. The house phone number doesn't work. It looks like the house sold. Like, what is going on? And finally, someone says, well, you might want to call, your family down in Virginia and ask them, because it's not really my business. And I was like, oh, okay. So, I'm calling the nursing home that, my family owns, and I'm like, okay, so where's my dad? And like, please, somebody tell me. And finally I got a hold of, this person that's in the family, and he gave me my dad's cell phone number, and I called my dad, and I still remember him. I mean, I called and I called and I called. I'm leaving voice messages. Nobody's answering. It's been like 6 hours, and I'm like, this is so weird. Why is my dad answering the phone? I'm worried about
6 hours. I need immediate gratification.
Exactly. Like, this is not working for me. And finally, he answers the phone. He goes, who is this? I'm like, Dad, it's me. And he said, Jesse? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, how'd you get this number? Is exactly what he said to me, which wasn't really the response that I was like expecting. But here he goes. It's been 6, 7 years. I'm like, this person gave it to me. And he was like, okay. And that's exactly how he said it. If you talk to him, I get this burned in my brain.
Huh.
And then we started talking. That's the first time we started talking in 7 years, and that was in June. So I'm very blessed to have him be so non-judgmental and very open and all for me and being there for me during all this. And I think it was meant to be that way, that's for sure.
And guys, everybody who's listening, like take note of that one. I hear addicts in meetings all the time just destroying themselves. They're emotionally ruined, saying, "Oh God, my family hates me. There's no coming back from this." And I tell them all the time that they want you to get well. They want you to get back in their lives. And yeah, you've burned them a lot, and that's why they're standoffish and acting angry, but it's not over. It doesn't have to be over. The only time it's over is when nobody is trying. Then it's over. Just try to fix yourself. Then you can go to them while you're in this process and you have some time and you guys can get it all worked out, because everybody will let you back eventually if you're doing it right. And you're a prime example of that.
And it is one of the best feelings. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, I was
I
pretty
love it
fortunate.
so much. Very happy.
I was pretty fortunate that my family never turned their back on me, but I never wronged them. You know, I was just out there quietly destroying my own life, but I never wronged them, but they never turned their back on me. The day that I decided I was getting clean, I hadn't talked to my mom in months because I was off, you know, doing my thing, running and gunning, and I called her and said, I need to talk to you immediately. Can you come over? So she came to my apartment, and I was standing outside because I already told my dickhead, cokehead landlord who put me in a building full of cokeheads that I could sell to that I'm out of here. Turned my phone off, flushed my stash. She showed up, and I said, if I don't go to rehab, I'm going to die. And she helped me out. I was in rehab the next freaking day.
Wow.
Yeah, everything kind of fell into place once I made that conscious decision. Because, you know, they say if you ask for God's help, be ready, because God's going to answer you on his time, not yours. And I was praying that I needed some help, and then just knock on the door, and there it is. I was like, oh, shit, that was fast.
Yeah, it's like those moments, you know, and, you know, sometimes the scariest moments are actually the most awakening, is what I found out. And when you look back on them and you think, oh, this is horrible, and oh, I can't believe I'm in this position, and it's like, I think that was God trying to save me and keep me safe and try to change my life. And, you know, I might not have listened to it 100 times, but this time I actually want it, which is rare for me. Like, I actually want this more than anything I've wanted, you know, that I can remember. And so that, like, in my recovery, this is what I want. Like, I know this is what I want. And that feels good. And that's what keeps me motivated every day, whether I don't want to be or not.
I'm not sure. It was a movie or a TV show that I saw once where it was God's voice saying, you have to use a gentle touch. If you touch too hard, you're going to push them away. And if you touch too little, they won't even know you've touched them at all. The right kind of touch means putting them in the right direction, but they don't know you did it.
And that's so true.
In my case, it was a pretty hard push, though, because, you know, I was going to go to jail. I mean, I was going to go to prison. And I figured if I'm going to go to prison, I'm going to go to prison sober. So when I put myself in rehab and I put myself in outpatient and I did all these steps for me, not for the courts, when I finally went to court to face like some pretty serious charges this time around, pretty serious drug charges for possession with intent with a very, very large amount of product. I had already had negative run-ins with this judge. But when I showed up, because I fired my lawyer, figured, you know, I'm just going to get a public defender. I'm not going to pay this guy. I'm just going to go plead guilty, and I'm going to do my time like a man. And I showed up, and the public defender is looking at me. He goes, holy, you look great. And I went, what? And he shows me my photo in, like, well, more than one, a whole bunch of mugshot photos. He says, look at you. This is who I thought was going to walk into the courtroom. And, well, it's not. It's me. And I said, I'm here to plead guilty. And he goes, oh, no, don't do that. We're not there yet. And I said, no, I'm there. I'm just done. I'm going to plead guilty, and we're going to move on to the next step. So he goes, sit down. He goes to the judge and says, Rob is here, and he's here to plead guilty. And she looked up at me and didn't even try to lower her voice. She said, no, he's not. I was like, damn, I've really pissed her off. Jeez. But then she asked me, well, what's the deal? And I was like, I did it. I did it. And it's just time to stop trying to dodge what I did. And she said, you're really 9 months. She said, you're really 9 months clean right now? And I said, yeah. So they sent me to drug court instead of prison. And I'd never even heard of drug court before.
But I was actually terrified, like, if I had to go to drug court, if I'm the fear of not being able to complete stuff like that. Like,
and you know what? I am so glad that you actually said that, because real quick, I want to plug something. The next episodes of Smells Like Hope that we're going to do is going to be a 3-part series on the truth and the facts about drug court, because too many people share what you're saying. Oh, it's a setup. It's a trap. They want you to fail. It's a money game. Everything negative that people who don't want to stop using will throw that out to you. And I never heard that before I was in drug court. Then I'm hearing all kinds of outsiders saying that. And they're scaring people away from a life-saving, a genuine life-saving experience, because, misery loves company. Junkies want to fuck up what you got going on. So they'll try to talk you out of it. And I had enough of that, man. So I actually had to petition the court to get them to give permission for some of the probation officers to speak. A good buddy of mine, Duke the Dumpster Drosy from WWF, is retired now. But in somewhere in Tennessee, I can't remember exactly where, he is now working for drug court because he got through the drug court process to settle his problems, and he works for them now. He's out there saving lives, and people need to know, because you go to prison, you're going to still get your dope. Why not try an alternative where they are giving you such a love shot to prove yourself or hang yourself? But to hang yourself, you've got to really be trying.
I hear that too. It's crazy.
You've got to really want to fail drug court to fail. There's this guy that I know in there right now, and he's hilarious because he's so open about how he screwed his own shit up. But it's a 3-year program, and if you're real good, you get out in 2 years. He's been in for 5. And the whole time, he's just like, it was me. I did it all.
You don't have to move.
Uh-oh.
That's okay. We're still on the podcast. You're fine.
Tell her all the podcast listeners say hi.
He says all the podcast listeners say, can't talk, say hi. So.
And tell her I said, Keep up the good work and stay clean. You can do it.
Okay, I will. Just keep up the good work and stay clean. We can do it. All right.
And see, this is great. Like, this is kind of the epitome of Smells Like Hope, because you're sharing your hope right now, man. And I can hear your hope gabbing in the background.
I know, which is kind of funny. So she just got here, and it's just exciting. It's exciting and a whole nother adventure.
It's all about how you look at it, So anyway, let's get back onto your hope. Like, how you doing now for work, and what's your future goals right now? Like, what's your goal for the next 30 days?
Okay, for the next 30 days, my goal. Let's see. Make a meeting every day, maybe 2 if I can.
Atta girl.
Learning to stay in my own lane, which is a big one for me. Focusing, it's a really big one for me. Learning to, how to read a book patiently, like the NA book, and actually start the steps with my sponsor that I just got. So I have homework that I need to do. My job is amazing. So I go to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 3:30, and be able to pay my rent like a big girl, and be able to save some money.
Yeah.
Those are important things. And the women at my work are amazing, and everybody has been through it. They're non-judgmental, and everybody's in recovery, active recovery at my job right now, all 6 of us. So that makes it even better and positive, and I just for right now and for the next 30 days, I'm going to stay sober, focus on me, and put my recovery as my main priority, and everything else falls into place. That's what I'm learning.
There you go. That's fantastic, and that's a pretty good note to start wrapping this thing up on, because like I say on both podcasts, listeners have a notoriously short attention span, and I don't want to lose anybody.
Yes.
But as I do every podcast, I want to end it by telling everybody out there, if nobody has said it to you today, I love you. You can do this. You are worth it. And there's a lot of you who hear that and say, oh no, nobody wants to help me. I'm in this alone. But you are sitting by yourself right now, listening to this podcast right now, and there are 2 people who want to help you. Think about that. You don't know us, but there's 2 people who would reach out to help you if you asked. Now, that's just while you're listening to a podcast. Why don't you actually examine everything? Look around you and see who is actually there to help, because I swear to you, there are lots of people to help. Roger that?
Yes, there are. Roger that.
Roger that. And it was fun. I'm glad you came on today. We're going to have to do this again in maybe another 30 days and check in on your progress.
That would be amazing. I actually, enjoyed it as well.
Good.
And I thank you for inviting me to do it. I'm appreciative. It helped me at the same time.
To keep it, we got to give it away. And again, to those of you who are listening who have recently relapsed, don't beat the hell out of yourself. No one's going to whoop your ass like you will. Now let it go. Pick yourself back up.
We do it better.
That's true. So on that note, Jessica, thank you for coming on. Everybody out there, thank you for listening. Make sure to come on and check it back out for the 3-part podcast of The Truth and Facts About Drug Court. I love you, and you can't do anything about it.
Love you too. Thank you very much for having me on.